Critical Role's latest live show may have revealed why they passed on Daggerheart for Campaign 4, World of Warcraft keeps shutting down fan servers, and some big news for One Piece Season 3. Welcome to Fantasy News Friday on the Character Sheet, your home for the week's biggest fantasy and TTRPG news. Before we talk Critical Role and One Piece updates, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons? The YouTube algorithm is currently kind of broken at the moment, and hitting that like button really helps these videos more than ever. And then, let's dive into the news. Critical Role finally gave their YouTube and Twitch audiences a chance to watch their Oath and Ash live show from Indianapolis, which features the Bells Hells now converted over to Daggerheart and exploring some consequences for their actions in Campaign 3. And while the story and chemistry and the costumes were as amazing as ever, we may have just seen the real reason why Daggerheart wasn't used for Campaign 4. Now, granted, this was a much bigger table than we will see in Campaign 4, with Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins joining the cast in their final massive combat, a combat which became an absolute slog at points, with players sometimes waiting 40 minutes or more between their turns. The cast seemed very reluctant to do anything for fear of, well, fear, as every time they rolled with fear, Matt would take an entire activation with their enemies, which weirdly isn't even really how Daggerheart recommends you run a combat, as they suggest mixing up those kind of quote hard actions with softer environmental or other types of reactions to keep the combat flowing. Instead, what resulted was the players worrying about rolling with fear and shifting the combat back over to Matt and keeping someone else from having their turn, and Matt constantly giving the bad guys full activations every time they did roll with fear instead of those reactions or environmental actions mentioned in the running a combat section of the Daggerheart campaign book. The players clearly weren't super sure of how to proceed in a major combat like this, which really dragged it out, and the chat started to notice how long and painful parts of this combat really were. Now eventually, like in Age of Umbra, they just started saving up hope and doing a bunch of team-up attacks to take down the big bad, but it really did show that they need a little more time getting the rules right and getting comfortable with the system before they're ready to start a full-on long-form campaign. But we suspect with a couple more mini-campaigns under their belts in the near future, those kinks will get ironed out pretty soon.
This is great for my self-esteem.
Blizzard has just shut down yet another major World of Warcraft Classic fan server. Just weeks after serving a cease and desist to Turtle WoW, one of the biggest fan servers ever looking to create that classic WoW Plus experience, Blizzard has now shut down the long-awaited Project Epoch fan server, which is where thousands of those Turtle WoW refugees fled to and which has been in production for years and years. The Project Epoch team said that unlike Turtle WoW, they would not try and fight the cease and desist order from Blizzard, and they would simply shut down the server just weeks after going live, despite the years they poured into making it happen. This new crackdown on fan servers, which are technically free but do tend to accept donations and also definitely use the IP, code, and graphic assets of Blizzard's World of Warcraft, has many fans convinced that Blizzard is finally doing their own version of Classic Plus in the very near future, instead of just releasing old content again unchanged the way they have with Classic WoW and Classic WoW Anniversary. These fan servers take that classic vanilla World of Warcraft experience, and they did stuff like rebalance the classes, create new raids and dungeons, new quests, add more world bosses, and a lot of other things that basically made it a totally fresh experience in a very familiar setting. But with this latest huge crackdown from Blizzard, it seems like the company may have finally realized that that kind of content is what Warcraft fans really want at this point, as both Turtle WoW and Project Epoch had something like 40,000 players or more despite being a private server. So don't be shocked if Blizzard's big Warcraft announcement for next year is the start of a new Classic Plus server of their own.
That's it, you know what? I'm taking everybody's money.
And finally, One Piece just revealed some huge news about Season 3 and just how big it will actually be, revealing that filming will start in November and take nearly 8 months to complete, which is longer than it took many seasons of Game of Thrones. And while this does mean we won't be getting Season 3 till 2027 at the very earliest, it also shows you just how much time and money Netflix is putting into their hit anime adaptation. And according to Crocodile himself, Joe Manganiello, you can really see it in the incredible sets and costumes they've been creating. As the actor called his brief appearance in some kind of crocodile-filled practical set in Season 2, the coolest I have ever looked, in a recent interview. Season 3 will feature Crocodile, also known as Mr. Zero, leader of Baroque Works, far more as they dive into the full Alabasta or Arabasta, depending on how you want to pronounce it, arc. And while we are sad that we won't be getting rapid-fire releases of the seasons like we sometimes do with other streaming shows, with Netflix now committing such a huge amount of time and money into filming Season 3, we can't wait to see how it all pays off when we get a look at it, hopefully sometime in 2027. And that's all we have this week on Fantasy News Friday. Let us know what your favorite story was down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.